joining me is a sport journalist, Oma Akatugba, via Zoom. Oma, welcome to Robin Minds.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. What a pleasure. Mhm.
Thank you. So, the Super Falcons, 10-time winner, do you think they'll make it 11 in this edition of WAFCON?
I think that they've got all it takes. They are the best team on the continent of Africa. Just like you mentioned, they won it 10 times. Haven't won the tournament, consistently over decades. I don't think that there's any team that is at the level of the Super Falcons. Of course, you've got Morocco, the host nation. They seem to have done quite well in a very short period of time. There's South Africa, who seems to be doing well in female football as well. There's Zambia in there. But I think that the Falcons are odds-on favorites to lift the AFCON once again. Anytime there is the WAFCON, I beg your pardon, the only name that comes to mind is the Super Falcons of Nigeria. So I think that they will go all the way again, especially with the fact that they got some motivation from the Nigerian government. All the backlog of allowances were cleared. And I think that's a good one for them going into the tournament. So I think that they'll make it 11.
But should the government have waited this long to fulfill its promises? Because I still remember all the promises of $100,000. And there was also a time when the Super Falcons came out to also complain about their jerseys. So why always late in the day? And is this too late as a source of motivation?
Well, let me start by saying better late than never. However, the girls or athletes in general shouldn't wait years for promises to be fulfilled. I think that it's not a good thing because fulfilling promises early, on time, is a sign of respect for their commitment. Especially the Falcons, they've been the most successful national team on the continent of Africa, both male and female. That sort of national team should not be treated the way our Falcons are treated. We've had history of poor remuneration, of abandonment, and all of that, especially with the Super Falcons. We saw how they were ferried with pickups that are used to ferry farm produce after winning the WAFCON in South Africa, which was very outrageous. And we've seen, times over time, how they've been poorly treated. I don't think it's a good thing, even though we will commend the federal government. But I think that promises should not take years to be fulfilled. If a politician needs 20 billion to furnish apartments, money is produced with a twinkle of an eye. But these girls who put Nigeria on the map, who, again, like I said, are the most successful national team on the continent of Africa, always have to complain, strike, go to the press to talk about poor treatment and all of that. It's not a good thing, and it's not a good sign on us. Because if we say we respect women and we don't treat our girls who make us proud all the time so well, it speaks volume of how much we value women. We should not treat our girlfriends and side chicks better than the girls who make us proud at global level.
Now, speaking about support, we know how much pomp and pageantry, excitement in the air for the just concluded World Cup, which Nigeria didn't play in. But do you still see that level of excitement for the Super Falcons? Is Nigeria behind our girls? Are the brands behind our girls? Is the government behind our girls as they go in to 2026 WAFCON?
Yes, but not as much as when it will be the male national teams.
And why
I was
is
at the
that?
AFCON. Well, it's because male football seems to be, in all honesty, seems to be bigger than female football. Male football earns much more money than female football. So it is natural that what brings more money will get more attention because humans naturally gravitate towards value. That said, I think that we can do better with the Super Falcons. Not just the government, Nigerians, the media, because the media doesn't put enough searchlights on the Super Falcons going into a tournament and you don't have enough media attention. In terms of even journalists going to cover the WAFCON, you don't have the number as much as it will be when it concerns the Super Eagles. So I think that it could be better. To be very honest, there's no excuse. The girls deserve all of the support. They deserve all of the brand partnership. They deserve all of the support from the federal government, from the NFF. The NFF, who are saddled with the primary responsibility of governing football in the country to start with, are failing in their responsibility when it comes to, properly treating and managing the girls. And I think that in general, it could be better, to be very honest.
Yes, indeed, it can be better. And let's see how the 2026 WAFCON plays out. But already an unfortunate incident has almost tried to dampen the spirit of our girls, where money was taken from their hotel rooms. Is this just an unfortunate incident, or could there be more to this to mess with their morale and their esteem and their psyche going into the defense of their continental crown?
A part of me would say it's an unfortunate incident. But if you go by the pattern, you would think that it's some sort of deliberate distraction. I remember at the AFCON, hosted by Morocco, I was in the Super Eagles camp, and this happened with the Super Eagles. Players, officials, their rooms were ransacked and monies were stolen from their rooms by hotel staff. And that was something very, very shocking to me. And it is repeating itself again. So you can tell that it is not an unfortunate incident, but a pattern, especially with Morocco. Morocco has been a fantastic host. In fact, they bailed out the Confederation of African Football in terms of hosting major international events for Africa and doing it fantastically well. However, some of the off the field activities seems to be taking the shine of their fantastic host and their fantastic administration and their prowess to host super quality events. This is not a good story at all. Just like how the AFCON was overshadowed by all of the activities off the pitch, concerning the host nation, the fans, even journalists. We're seeing that repeat itself again, and it doesn't speak well of Morocco, a country that wants to host the World Cup in 2030. I think that they really need to do better, because with such stories leading to a tournament, especially when it concerns the odds-on favorite who defeated Morocco in the final in 2025, I think that it doesn't speak well of a great nation like Morocco.
Yeah, a lot needs to be done, because if players are having their rooms ransacked and officials are being stolen from, then it sends the wrong message to people who would want
Absolutely.
to leave their countries to go and support their favorite team. Now, speaking of the championship, which opens up today, I mean, the Super Falcons don't have to play till Tuesday, where they meet Malawi, who are the strong contenders. This is more than just WAFCON. This is a qualifier for the Women's World Cup
Yes.
next year in Brazil. So,
Correct.
who are your top picks? I mean, apart from Nigeria.
I'll pick Morocco. They've invested heavily on female football. They've invested in football in general, and we can see the result. Morocco is doing very well at all levels. They won the Under-20 World Cup. Their girls reached the final of the WAFCON in 2025. They almost defeated Nigeria. They went 2 goals up before Nigeria rallied back and won by 3 goals to 2 because of experience, determination, and individual quality. But as a collective, Morocco looked better than Nigeria. And all of these they've achieved in a very short space of time. I think that they are a very solid contender, not just because they have a good team, also because they have the 12th man, which is the home support. Moroccans support their teams vociferously. At the AFCON in Morocco, we saw Nigeria play Morocco inside that Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium in Rabat. It was a completely different feeling and atmosphere. Even the Nigerian players couldn't even hear themselves speaking on the pitch. That is the sort of support that you get. So I pick Morocco as a solid contender for these reasons. Quality team, a team that is growing, the 12th man support, and all of that. South Africa is also another team. They've been consistently growing on the continent of Africa. as far as female football is concerned, and of course male football as well. I think that they are also going to do well. Another team for me is Zambia. Zambia seems to be, they look good as well. They've ended up fourth before on the continent of Africa. That have been their best placing, but I think that they've got all it takes, to do much more better. They lost to Nigeria in the semi-final in Morocco 2025, and I think that they have all it takes to go all the way. So these three teams, Nigeria, Morocco, Zambia, South Africa, I beg your pardon, four teams are my favorites to win the tournament. And mark my words, the winner will not be beyond outside of these four teams.
Well, what about a favorite to warm the hearts of people across the world? Because we saw what happened, and this will be my final question, with the just concluded World Cup, where Cabo Verde didn't win any of their matches, but they were able to hold Spain to a draw. I mean, you saw what happened with the team, the amount of love they received, and Vozinha became an Instagram sensation. So, is there any team that could just recreate that magic and bring people again on the continent in unity and bring that buzz for the social media?
Zambia, maybe. I think Zambia will be that team. They've never won the tournament. So if they go all the way, that would be a big story. Because the tournament like these always feels special when there's a new name on the trophy. I think that new name might be Zambia. Like I mentioned, they've been consistently pushing. Like I said, they reached the semi-final of the last tournament, lost to Nigeria, the eventual winner. So I think that they've got all it takes. They've got the giant killing instinct, to be that Cinderella story of this tournament. I think that Zambia can do it.
Thank you, Omar Akatugba, sports journalist, for your contributions. And we wish the Nigerian Super Falcons all the best as they defend their title in the opening match against Malawi on Tuesday. But the competition starts today, so please get behind our girls.